I have been waiting for 2 or 3 years to say the following words. Man Listening is sponsored by Voice Locket, voicelocket.com. Go to the website, watch the video, it takes 90 seconds, and tell me what you think. It's as simple as that. voicelocket.com. Now the show.
It's pretty cool. It's been a great journey, and I do feel more settled every day, which is like every time I walk into a meeting, it feels more like home every day.
What is the sound of one man listening? This is Man Listening, a fresh podcast featuring the stories of strong women who bounce back. Man Listening, because every woman deserves to be heard.
Hi there, I'm Stuart Watson, and welcome to Man Listening. This week, my friend Madeline. It's not Madeline. She's a baker. She can make Madelines, probably, but her name is Madeline. Madeline from Westchester County, New York. And I know Madeline through recovery, and she has a hell of a story, and she is grateful to be alive. Wonderful story. I really wanted to know more about her. I was very curious. And so she came into the studio here at the Big Queen City Podcast Network. My friend Madeline, where were you born?
I was born in, I actually always forget the answer to this question because the hospital doesn't exist anymore. So I kind of forget like that city. I was born in Portchester, New York at United Hospital.
And Portchester is what part?
Portchester is part of Westchester County, right on the border of Byram, goes into Greenwich, Connecticut. It's kind of near Rye. This is all along the Long Island Sound, like very close to the city. You know, a lot of people think New York State and just picture the giant part.
For your mother, you're number what of how many?
One of two.
Okay, and you have brother, sister?
I have a sister who is 22 months younger than me.
And you guys are close?
Very.
Wow. Does she
now.
live? Yeah, not growing up.
Not during our teenage years, let's say. The developmental period was...
Yeah, it's hard.
It's rough on any girl.
Yeah.
Two of us, yeah.
Yeah. As a little kid, like 2, 3 years old, like if you go and see like little home videos or home movies or whatever, your mother would have said, oh, Madeline was so what? Like what was the temperament before the world got to you?
Calm. I was a calm, happy, easy baby. But 2 or 3, I think that's when I started to get a little mischievous, like cutting my sister's hair. But if we go back to pictures, I'm kind of like always the background one, and we refer to my sister as Savage Baby in like every picture because I'm just there, because she was very energetic and never focused. So I'm just kind of always in the background of pictures, and Emmy's like wow, like the star, like what? So
She's out there.
I faded.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, she was fighting for attention.
I was the easy one, let's say.
Yes. Yeah. Now, did your parents stay married?
Yes.
Oh, they did?
They have been married for, I'm going to get in trouble if anyone listens to this, since 1978.
Wow.
43 years? Something like that.
Yeah. Now, I think you said you grew up Jewish. Did you guys go to temple? Were you practicing?
So here, that's interesting. So I don't remember religion coming into my life until like preschool because we went to temple preschool. And my mom was actually not Jewish. My mother is Mary Catherine from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, blonde hair, blue eyes. But I think the spiritual aspect was important to her. And I think Judaism just appealed. I mean, they were going to raise my sister and I one way and decided on Judaism, which my dad already was. Not very, he didn't come from a religious family at all. I think they just wanted us to have like some introduction to spiritual life, some ground.
Identity.
Yes. And it became a huge part of our identity for those developmental years because we went to temple preschool. Then we went to like religious school, like the way kids go to like CCD or Christian school whenever they do it, like on the weekend or after school some days. I think I got my first job through someone at the temple, like being a mother's helper when I was probably like 10 or 11. I became really involved in the temple youth group. Oh, so let's backtrack. Like 6 years old, I went out to check the mail and get this flyer or something from a YMCA camp with like a horse on it. And I was like, Mommy, I'm going. Because I rode horses, and she was like, "You're a little young," but I was like awfully independent, like hands on hips, like I'm doing this, I'm going. So I did a 2-week thing, like didn't freak out. Turned out sleepaway camp was okay for me, so did it again the next year, but found a Jewish camp, and that became like Eisner was our lives. Like my sister followed suit.
Did you go by Madeline?
No, I was always Maddy.
Oh.
I
And so
decided to
when
be
did you
Madeline in
shift?
college.
Oh, okay. Because
Identity. Another like
what does that mean? What's the difference? Who was Maddie and who's Madeline?
Maddie was like that little girl, and I had no idea who I wanted Madeline to be. I literally wrote my college essay about having no identity. I was like, everyone else writes a story about something they're passionate about or really good at or a hobby or push it. Completely honestly, I have none of those things. I've dipped my toe in a lot, and I don't know who I want to be, and that's why I need to go to college. Like, take me and let me find myself. And I think maybe like 1 out of 13 bought that.
I missed something. Did you have a bat mitzvah?
I did.
And what was that like?
It was really cool. It was at a country club that was decorated for Christmas on the outside because it was in December, and it was absolutely beautiful. But people go all out for bat mitzvahs where I'm from. It was like a sweet 16 or maybe a wedding.
Quinceañera.
Sí.
Yeah.
And it was New York City theme. So we had some artists make like centerpieces. It was pretty cool. Lots of camp friends. All the camp kids were from like Long Island, New Jersey, and northern Pennsylvania, so it was easy to go. But our poor parents, oh my God, that whole year were just schlepping us all over the tri-state area, going to each other's bar and bat mitzvahs every weekend.
Did you make bank? Like tables covered in gifts or?
It's mostly money, and people give in increments of 18 because that's like high symbols, life, blah, blah, blah.
So like 18.
My parents took that money and put it in a savings account.
Ah, smart.
Yes, so I didn't get to like play with a lot of stuff. There were a few gifts, like little thing. I actually still use something, this little zipper pouch from Barney's from my friend Ian Greenhouse's mom. Oh my God, I love that thing.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Now, would you go into the city very often?
Very. It was kind of like my backyard, like this playground. It was right there. The train is so easy.
Did you sneak into the city, or were they like,
No.
fine? And so when you went into the city, where did you go? Like, what kinds of things would you do in the city?
Well, we would go to Union Square a lot, to like the outdoor market and this noodle place that we loved. And there was a lot of just like wandering around and thinking we were so cool and hanging at St. Mark's Place and really having like no idea what we were actually observing. I did have a strong core group of like my girls.
Are you still friends with them?
No, and that is like one of my biggest regrets. After college, a lot of them moved into the city. I moved back home, stayed in Westchester. Again, super close, no excuse, but that's like, I guess, when I started really drinking, and it's purely my fault. I mean, I made an ass of myself, like, severely at one of their weddings, and, like, no wonder I lost contact with that girl. But there were twins that I was, like, super, super close with who I miss dearly.
You don't think you could rekindle that?
I do. I think about it a lot, actually, reaching out just to say hi. I know there's decade has passed and we're completely different people. At least I am, but I still love you. Like,
oh, that's lovely.
These twin girls have 5 boys between the two of them now. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
I always thought I'd be married with kids by this point, and like,
did you
thinking about that?
You thought about that, but did you want to be married with kids?
Yes, my whole life. And it was kind of always where I thought I'd be at this point, which is like every day I'm like, oh, but now I'm this age and don't have a husband and kids. So like,
I don't know what age that is.
It's 36.
You're my daughter's age.
But it's
my oldest daughter's age.
For a woman, it's a weird age. You kind of feel like at least I personally feel like you kind of have to make that decision. And I know people are having kids like into their 50s these days, freakish science stuff. It's possible. But, I think about like, do I want to be that age or do I want to just continue living the life? But I can't imagine my parents not having grandkids.
Yeah.
They were like built to be grandparents.
Well, it doesn't have to be you. It could be your kid's sister.
Could be.
Yeah. I mean, pressure's off.
It'll be an adopted child.
Yeah. That's fine.
It'll be deeply, deeply loved.
So you never got married?
I did not. Did not. Spent all those years that I should have been meeting someone or connecting with someone, drinking and making not being very attractive, let's say.
Well, but you're attractive now.
Thank you.
And, it's not, your life's not over.
Oh, I
You keep
know.
talking about
Oh
this.
my God. I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm aware of the fact that my life is not like when little girls like picture their wedding or something like that. When I was little, I always thought like, by 26, I'll be married with kids. So I do kind of always have that thought like, this is not where in my like growing up dream life I thought I'd be. Reality has set in. I'm okay with it, but like I'm still aware of it.
There's the great John Lennon line, life's what happens when you're making plans.
Right.
And then there's also the greatest delusion there is that if I only had blank, then
my
I'd
God.
be happy. If I only had the spouse, then I'd be happy. If I only had the kids, I'd be happy. If I had that job, I'd be happy.
Fill in the blank, and that's the story of my life. And I'm telling you seriously, like I'm not selling it, but AA is the only thing that keeps me out of living that way 24/7. Because I can very quickly slip into like if I just have that, then this will fall into place, and if I just do this, then this will be perfect. And I have to be able to do this before I can do that. And it's a whole lot of bullshit.
But I mean, look at this. You haven't been sober
Not that
forever.
long. Nope.
Like, can I ask?
4 years.
4 years. That's still really damn good. I mean,
But it's still really baby steps. It's pretty cool. It's been a great journey, and I do feel more settled every day.
Yeah.
Which is like every time I walk into a meeting, it feels more like home every day.
Well, I have to ask, you brought it up. What was, the old saying is, it's your liver, your lover, or your lawyer. It's your health, your relationships, or legal, seriously. It was lawyer.
But it should have been health. And I'm telling you, you and I spoke about this the other day, where someone who said, you were sharing about someone who was in a relationship with a doctor straight up said to this woman, you're an alcoholic, and that interested you. And I replied to you, I always was waiting, like hoping that my doctor would tell me I'm an alcoholic. Like I was not healthy. And I was sure that like something shocking would like show up in my blood work or something abnormal.
When you say not healthy, like what was not healthy?
I was just like constantly, my baseline blood alcohol level daily was probably like at least 0.15.
And so when would you start drinking? Like what time of day?
When I woke up from any sleep or blackout.
Wow. And what would you drink?
Vodka. This is like towards the end. This is when, yeah.
Yeah.
When I like really.
Were you working?
Yeah, but not showing up frequently.
What kind of job did you have?
I was waitressing.
Yeah. Those people party.
They do. It was a really small place, and it was not that type of crowd. I certainly like made it that way for myself.
I think alcoholics will make it work. I don't care if they're Mormons, but waiters, bartenders, people who work in hospitality, painters, like contractors, people who work for themselves, lawyers. That's the one that people don't think about. Lawyers drink like fish. I was talking to a lawyer about that this morning. Lawyers very much overrepresent.
You know what? It's funny. They do. And my dad's a lawyer, or he's been retired for a couple of years, about a decade. But they're like when they had summer associates, the events were everything's based around alcohol. And there's been a huge shift in like with the huge firms in the whole culture of these like outside work social events. And a lot of them are shifting to alcohol-free events because like there was no way around it becoming the focus without eliminating it.
Yeah. And in the dating culture, In the dating culture, there are people who say they want to go to sober-only places, not because they have an alcohol problem, because they want to see who the actual person is.
You want to see your sober options.
Yeah, you can't see them through a pair of beer goggles. You can't see them clearly, like their personality's altered, your personality's altered. You're not having a relationship with the person who's going to be like you're going to wake up with. You're getting this kind of buzzed version of this person. It's not a clear image of what this person is like.
That's interesting. I always say I never wanted a first date to be at a bar. I always said the perfect first date would be like, come to the grocery store with me and see if you can tolerate that. Or watch me eat some barbecue. And if you want to hang around after that, like, great. But that's a good first. How do you really get to know someone right off the bat? I mean, what am I going to waste my time with the beer goggles?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So what was it then? What was the sort of pivot point, inflection point, moment of decision, bottom?
So I moved from New York the summer of 2017. My parents had sold their full-time home there, and I'm just super close with my parents, and honestly pretty codependent. And just being that far away from them, like not a short drive, but a plane ride was like, I really couldn't handle that. And I had also just left my last chef job in New York and was kind of, it was a good transitional point anyway. My drinking was getting really bad. And I think for them to have an eye on me and for me to be close to them, it was kind of a mutual decision for me to move as well. And we moved to Beaufort, North Carolina, which is a pretty small little beach town, very seasonal. And that's when I was like, I'm not going back in the kitchen. I'm going to be a server. It'll be a better way to meet people. I didn't meet people. I didn't go out. I never found anything fun. That's when the misery started. And the bottom was a DUI New Year's Eve 2017, which was actually my second DUI. My first in North Carolina.
Where'd you get stopped?
Oh, I don't even remember. So this is like the blackout of all blackouts that never came back to me. I remember absolutely nothing. Everything else has come back to me in bits and pieces. I can find it somewhere if I really go in the vault. This, absolutely no idea. I was supposed to be going to my parents' house after work, drove past there for no reason. I had cigarettes. I didn't need anything. There was no reason for me to be driving beyond, but I got stopped for swerving, and apparently my blood alcohol was 0.33, and I fell out of the car, and they don't arrest you. They call the ambulance. So I woke up in the hospital from that one.
And so you came to, and in your body, when that memory comes back, in your body, what did you feel like?
My soul just sank to it just felt like that bed just got so heavy because everything just left me. Because this is not the first time I have woken up with my dad standing over me going, "Oh, Madeline." And I knew, and he knew, this is the last time. And I knew as soon as I opened my eyes, fuck, excuse me, but I'm either going to jail. Please let it be rehab. Please send me to rehab. But I know something's coming. My life is about to change.
Now, how did you get the rehab option? I mean, how did that work out?
My dad, because we don't really know anyone in the recovery world, my dad called my aunt, his half-sister, who lives in East Hampton, and she's a psychiatrist, and asked her, what do we do? And for some reason, I to this day don't know why, she was aware of Alina Lodge. Told my dad immediately, don't bother with 30-day treatments. Don't do short-term. They don't work. Don't do outpatient. She's bad. Lock her up. Send her to Alina Lodge. It's long-term. And I guess no questions asked. The psychiatrist said so. My dad got on the phone with them, looked it up, and said, this is the place. Let's... And I think he was on the phone.
New Jersey, right?
That's
it's long-term treatment?
Yep,
residential. This
yes.
is residential.
Yes.
Now, can you run away? if you want to.
Can you?
Yeah, like you're not behind barbed wire. You could.
No, there's a gate that doesn't close, but I don't think I've ever seen it closed. But you could run away.
And you could also, if you wanted to.
There was nowhere to go.
Because you're a long ways away.
The closest town, I think, was about 1.5 miles, and that town, I mean, like a gas station
But I mean, you
and a
could
liquor store.
abscond. You could do the Great Escape and just say, "Fuck this, I'm
you
out
could
of
hitch
here."
a ride.
And there are people who do probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it happened a couple of times while I was there, and most of them come back.
Yeah. So when you got to Alina Lodge,
Oh, my God.
first off, it's all women.
No, it's
Oh, it's
co-ed,
not.
but it's like very divided.
Yeah. So the women are with the women, the men are with the men. right?
Except for during meal times and lectures, where even there's not literally a divider down the dining room, but there's staff in the middle, and you're not even allowed to look at each other.
So there's not like a boy meets girl kind of thing, or a girl meets boy. There's got to be
Let me tell you,
some.
I heard about like people passing notes and little like side romances, and winking means like you're getting married or something. I don't know how that would have been possible. I can't even imagine how anyone would have been able to sneak a note or pass anything or get away with. I mean, there were eyes on us constantly.
So could you have a conversation
With a boy, no.
Yeah. Oh no.
The only time I talked to a boy was one time. Visiting day was Sundays, and my dad was there, and this other boy, his parents were there, and like their names. You're aware because you're there for so long, and between lectures and like the minimal sharing that we are able to do, you get to know people a tiny bit. But we were both, I think, standing around the garden, maybe like 20 feet away from each other, and just said, "Hey," and our parents started talking, and someone came and said, "No. So even, just a brief accidental conversation on visiting day was like split up.
Was there a point in Alina Lodge when you thought about your drinking history and you went, shit, jail would have been the least of it. I could die. Like this is a progressive and fatal.
It did not take long at all. The first thing you're on a buddy system for 2 weeks. I mean, can you imagine a 30-day place where you're still having someone show you around in 2 weeks? I can't even imagine. But she said, like, "Oh, well, how was your drinking? What was it like?" And I mentioned peeing in the bed. She was like, "Oh, you're a late stage alcoholic. That's really bad."
You mentioned what?
Peeing in the bed.
Oh,
And
wetting
then
the bed.
I think it was like the next day or within, like soon after one of our lectures that we got a copy of that diagram that shows the progression.
The
and
Jellinek curve.
The Jellinek curve, exactly. And let me tell you, when I realized how close to the end of that I was, is when I had that like, holy shit moment. Like, that's when I say liver and lawyer, because I was sure, like, I was really sick.
I've met guys who relapsed and died because in their throat, the blood vessels are very close to the surface. And so when you rot the inside of, not the windpipe, but
The varices.
Yeah, the varices, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you bleed out, boom, like that, because blood's just pouring into the stomach and there's no way to like stitch these back together. And so it's a toxin, it's extremely, like it eats away at the body. And people say, "Oh, glass of wine, blah, blah, blah." Bullshit. We're talking about straight vodka, and it's extremely corrosive. And people don't realize that.
I literally felt like I was pouring something flammable into. My blood was made of vodka. I was 30% vodka all the time. Like every time fuck a glass, every time I chugged from the bottle, a whole one a day, I was still drinking a lot. But I was just waiting, like what's going to blow up? Like what's going to explode in there? Let's just say I didn't always think I was going to die, but there were definitely days when I was surprised I woke up.
Now, Alina Lodge. So you get there, you get calmed down, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, you get to where it gets
I didn't go to detox.
Did they give you something there for it, or?
I think they gave me, it'll come to me, maybe like Boost Bar or something stupid.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a nothing. And here's the reason, because the long-term treatment, I'm sure people in recovery know that's where they send people who are really bad or have been to multiple treatments, chronic relapsers, people with coexisting conditions. This is the last house on the block. And so I didn't know that people who are trained in treatment say, when you're asked like, oh, what are you taking and how much, what's going in, what's in your system, I completely lied because I wanted to sound better. I wanted to sound healthier. I didn't know you're supposed to say like, oh, I drink like gallons, so they give you more benzos to detox. Like, I had no idea. So I said I was only drinking like 5 or 6 shots a day. So I guess like over the phone, they decided that detox wasn't necessary. So I did spend like a week or two wandering around like scared I was going to have a seizure.
But you didn't have a seizure.
I did not, thank God.
Did you see anybody have a seizure?
A few months into treatment, someone who had been there for a while, it wasn't like during detoxing, and oh my God, I will never forget the sound. It sounded like the Star Wars guy was, and just dropped to the floor, and it was one of those, like, I had to leave the room. It was shocking because everyone just kind of sat there, and like, it was in the dining room. So what do? You just sit in silent and stare? Do you keep eating? How long does it take for help to come? Are you going to clear the room? Like, I bolted. That just didn't feel appropriate to me. That didn't feel right. That didn't feel respectful. And I didn't want to watch it. I'd never seen it. And then since then, there was that accident at the meeting. There's also
but that wasn't.
That was an accident, but that was another seizure.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I did see a seizure.
So.
And he was okay. But that was months after.
How long were you there before you sort of said, this might work? Like, this might actually work. You actually have to be kind of audacious to hold out any hope. You know, it's like you don't dare hope because it's just setting yourself up for disappointment if you harbor any hope that it's ever going to be any difference. And so what was it this time around in this long term, like 6 months plus, that you like, wow, if I'm able to do this, this, and this, I could actually have a life?
I think it was, so visiting day was every Sunday, and it was, you could only have 2 guests, and it was a small, like, if you were getting visitors, if it was the same person, you could only receive a visitor every 3 weeks, no matter who it was. If like your grandma wanted to come, well, like, too bad, then your parents have to wait 3 weeks. And my parents, being in North Carolina, came to visit frequently. I was super, super, super lucky. They're the most supportive people in the world. I could talk about that they still saved my life. The first few visits, so they're 3 weeks apart, the first few months, I fought so hard. I don't have to be here. I'm better already. I'm nothing like that. Get me out of here. I'm fine. I don't want to drink anymore. There's no point in this. 6 months is too long. And then my mom said at one of these visits, they were so angry that I was fighting it. And I'm so ungrateful. And my mom looked at me and said, do you know that when we were packing up your apartment, it felt like you were dead? And like, that really hit me. Like, holy shit, I need to take this more seriously. And then a few weeks later, this is maybe about 4 months into it, 5 months in, they have on Saturday nights graduates, people who have successfully been through the program who are still sober, come back and share their stories. And they offer annually, they like to celebrate people's anniversaries of their graduation, not of their sobriety date. So this woman came back to share her story. I think she had like 7 or 8 years, and you can bring guests with you. And she had her family with her, and afterwards you get to pick a song. Like the graduate who's speaking gets to pick a song from a limited number of the Alina Lodge songbook. And then I don't even remember what her song, I think it was I Hope You Dance, that I hope you did, like Take the Chance song, which is like my dad loves that song. And this girl was standing there like arm in arm with her dad. He gave her that like I'm so proud of you hug, and I cried with my friend. I was like, I miss my dad so much. This was a Saturday night. The next Sunday morning, we all look in the dining room in the morning because visits are secret. You never know if you're getting a visitor or when. We're all looking through the window because you have to wait in the hallway for like 10 minutes before you're allowed in, just for the sake of waiting for 10 minutes, following suggestions, which I eventually learned, okay, this is why. Okay, this is why. So this is when it's starting to make sense. So there's one table set up for a visit on the woman's side of the room with 2 plates. So it's, a resident and 1 guest. So, everyone's like, who's coming? Who's getting a visitor? Who would it be? Oh, I knew, like, it can't be me because it would be both my parents. Like, it was my dad by himself. He had an eye appointment in New York and said, I can't be up this close without seeing you. And it was just like, after that moment of like, that might have been prayer. Like, I need my dad. Like this girl having hurt, that was like some kind of sign or something. And the fact that he showed up the next day, I was like, something works. Something's happening. And like, I think that was.
How did you know you were ready to get out of this very sort of cloistered environment?
How did I know?
Yeah,
or
how did you know? How did you know? How did they know that you're...
I guess it's really more how they know. I mean, you could say you're ready to go anytime. I feel good. I'm good. But I really started to feel it after about like 7 months. I was like, I have to get out of here. And I was kind of freaking out. Like, I'm fine. Like, I've done the work. Like, I get it. Like, I'm not showing bad behaviors. What do I have to do? I'm stepping up everywhere. And I think they just like wouldn't release someone that early. Like, it was unheard of. And
7 months sounds like a long time to me, but
it is. And I was there for just shy of 9. So during the 8th month, like, usually you don't know you're getting out. It'll tell you like the week before. An interesting thing happened towards the end of my stay, and a buddy who was like a month behind me for leaving, actually, she was like a month ahead of me getting there. We had the same counselor, and our counselor left to have a baby with like 2 months left of our programs, and we kind of got a new substitute counselor and we kind of also got shifted to one of the other already existing counselors who we knew like part-time. So it was like, wait, Megan's gone. Who is Ellen my counselor, or is this new lady my counselor? And I think I only met with this new lady like once or twice before I left. I like wasn't getting sessions. I was like, am I forgotten in the system? Like, it's time to go. So since the whole change in the counseling and everything and the kinds of conversations that were happening, because I was having to, I knew it was coming.
What kind of aftercare is there? Like what?
Sorry, backtrack. And there's a visiting weekend when you know you're about to be done when they tell you it's time for your family weekend. Everyone has a family weekend where their family comes up and stays for a couple of days and really learns about the program. And there's a separate family counselor who this is all she does. Donna's amazing. And Donna sat with my family for like 3 days, just hanging out, talking to us, answering questions, explaining what going to Charlotte was going to be like, telling me about the recovery here, telling me about the transition, telling me what sober living I was going to, where it is in the city. It was, so I did have some understanding of what was next, at least on paper. I didn't really get it. I had no idea what moving to sober living meant.
So you came here to kind of a halfway place?
I did.
And if you had to go straight back into either living by yourself in an apartment or living with your parents, what did you think about that sober living environment?
I thought it was a good idea. Like, I just got it. I think it was set in me that this whole following suggestions thing is there for a reason, and it's going to work. If I want this and I want to be successful, I'm going to do what they said. If they say 6 months in sober living, fine, 6 months in sober living.
So you weren't digging in your heels and arguing with them, I'm fine, I'm good.
No, I was not skipping that step. I was not fighting about that. I
But
was fighting about getting sent to Charlotte and not across the street staying in New Jersey, which were the two options.
Right. Why didn't you want to come to Charlotte?
No, I did want to come to Charlotte.
Oh,
I was
okay.
fighting staying in New Jersey. I was
yeah.
happy to come to Charlotte. I was
Yeah.
refusing to stay in New
Well,
Jersey.
you also have a family network here. I mean, you have
Which
that
is
support.
tricky. They want to keep you away from your families generally. The general Alina Lodge rule of thumb is, you're not going to get sent to Charlotte because you have family in North Carolina, so we're going to send you somewhere else.
Huh, that's interesting.
My family is supportive, and I guess they knew they weren't unhealthy enablers. It wasn't a dangerous relationship for me to go back to, so it was okay. And Charlotte's far enough away from Beaufort that it was okay.
So how long were you in the halfway house?
6 months.
When you got out of the halfway house, you went where?
I moved in with a friend who had moved out of the halfway house, who I met there. I made friends with Mary in
both
Hope
in
Homes.
recovery.
We're both. I don't know where Mary is. Yeah,
But I
so
mean, you're both in recovery.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So you're kind of accountability partners. If you see something something a little
Exactly.
shaky with
that
somebody,
was the idea.
Yeah.
Like the best next step after, like taking baby steps after moving out of treatment, then sober living. Then the next step is with someone else who's sober.
yeah.
And then we had
Did
an
you like Hope
apartment.
Homes? Did you like that?
I did. It was a good place. I mean, it's nice.
Don't they have that thing where you have to vote? Like, if a new
You do interview new prospects because you want to know who's coming into the community and make sure. I don't understand it. How could you not accept
you
someone?
can say no though, right? If you're
Yes.
like,
I remember saying no in an interview because the woman came to the interview drunk, and I asked her. I straight up.
that would be a sign.
I
that would be
asked-
one sign.
Oh my god, a huge sign. But she wasn't really showing it. She was like slightly slurring her words. I don't think anyone else caught on to it. So, and we all said the regular questions. Oh, what do you do? And she's like, I was with my parents all day. There's no way I could have been drinking. Blah blah blah. And I'm just gonna ask you, like, straight up, just for honesty, like, have you been drinking today? And she said no. And then they took her for a piss test, and she failed.
So your instincts were pretty good.
I like to think so, but I still would have accepted her if she had just said yes.
Yeah, but they might not have. They might.
I like to think they would have.
Yeah.
I mean, they accepted a man to live with us in the woman house. They'll take anybody. That was a story. Oh my God. So at one point I was living with my this is still my best friend, who is gay, and we are like the complete opposite people, and it's hilarious when we are out together because people think we're like a couple, and we just could not get along better. We have each other's backs, like, no matter what. That's my girl. So we were living together, and this situation arose that a transgender woman, someone transitioning to a woman, was feeling really unsafe in the men's home and was going to be placed in the Hope Home, the woman's home, because that's where she would feel safer. And we were told, this person totally presents as a woman, is really far along in the transition, and of course they put that she's going to live with us because Carrie's gay. So obviously will be put her in, and the liberal New Yorker put her in there.
They'll get along.
Perfect, obviously.
It's a three's company.
Yeah. So this man with eyeshadow basically came to live with us for a couple of days, masquerading as, I think, Meredith or something. I don't even remember. And like 2 days later, got caught trying to buy cars at a used car lot with his sister's stolen identity and got arrested. Like, I think it was all a scam. There was no transition. He actually had a flyer or like a consult folder from plastic surgery place. Like, oh, here's the consultation for your breast augmentation. So God only freaking knows if this was a real transgender person. But the point is, no judgment. We'll take anyone.
There's some sort of made-for-Netflix story in here.
Oh, my God.
We just have to get it.
Oh, my God.
When you got out, you were living. Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel, I'm not ready for this?
No.
You were ready.
I felt I was always independent before, and I felt safe going back to an independent life.
Did you ever feel like...
Let me clear. I isolated terribly, but I knew that I was capable and had in the past led a very productive, independent life, and I felt safe that I could go back to that, not the isolation mode.
Relapse is almost more the norm than not. I mean, it's very, very common. And with alcohol, there's this feeling, it's just, I mean, a lot of people don't think of it as like heroin. They think relapse, okay, detox, call the lawyer, blah, blah, blah. And they don't realize the risk of death from a wide variety of ways, that how much it can shorten your life for really young people, et cetera. Knowing that, to what do you attribute your 4 years? You're being in your 5th year. Like, why are you not drunk?
Because that, detox call, that's not an option for me. That is not an option. If I relapse, if I live, I will be out on my own, and I am not prepared. I'm not built to be out there on my own drunk, not having any resources. That's not something Madeline is capable of. And I would quickly die. My family will not help me. I will not get saved again. Alina Lodge was, and think it worked. I keep doing the work. I've done the work.
When you say do the work, what do you mean?
I mean, keeping up with going to meetings, sponsorship, everything I've been told, following all the not stupid suggestions, everything, just all
things you thought were stupid.
all the steps we've taken to get here. I just every day, relapse is not an option. The lifeboat thing is my favorite thing. If you're in the lifeboat and all people talk about is their shark bites and their horror stories, like why the hell you want to go swim in the ocean and get a shark bite when you know how bad it is? Like, I don't want to try it. Thank you, everyone who shares their relapse stories, because it keeps me from not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel a lot better? Yeah. I mean, are you happier?
I'm much happier. I'm not unhappy at all, but that like first year or two of like everything's great, that obviously fades. I feel like normal life. I feel good. I don't want to drink, but is that not everything's amazing? It's a good day. Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
Within Jewish culture, there's this, you see the chai, the life, the symbol of life. Looks kind of like pie.
It does look a lot like pie.
With it.
Yes.
There is, in Jewish culture, there's some people who are sourpusses, but there's a huge like joy of living, like a joy of life. Like savoring food, savoring friends, savoring the warmth of fellowship. And I'm wondering, I sense in you that some of that just loving cookies, loving baking, loving cooking, loving life, the fullness of it.
It's too bad this isn't a video and you can't see my face right now because I'm just like grinning ear to ear because
you're beaming.
I was making challah this morning, like for that specific reason. I was going to do my crossword puzzle. I said, you know what? It's Friday. I'm making challah just for the connection. Yeah. Just for the connection. Just know for the feel of it, the meaning of it. Even though I'm not going to go to temple. I'm not going to light candles. I'm not religious, but just like knowing that thousands of other people around the world are doing the same thing at the same time is kind of cool, kind of therapeutic. And
you never know, Madeline. You might find a nice Jewish boy. You just don't know.
Ian Greenhouse got married.
They're around.
That's what my mom always said when we were younger. Find a nice Ian Greenhouse boy. Find a boy like Ian Greenhouse. I hope he never hears this. His family's beautiful.
What's he doing now? Where's
I
that
don't
guy?
know. He's in the city.
Yeah.
He's still friends with our old friends.
Well, see, my wife's father used to say, that Robert Slaughter's a nice boy. This was after she was dating me. He would say, he's going to be a doctor. That Robert Slaughter, he's a nice boy.
Everyone
nice
has
boy.
the someone they want.
He's a nice boy.
Yeah.
Dad, I want you to meet Stuart. That Robert Slaughter, very nice. He's tall. He was the guy that the girls would always take home to meet the parents.
Uh-huh.
Very tall, dark, very presentable.
Clean cut.
Exactly, and had a future he could provide.
Man with a plan.
Yeah, exactly. But I sense that you're going to be A-okay no matter what.
Thank you. I hope so.
Don't you feel that in your bones? Don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel protected.
Yeah. Who's protecting you?
I have no idea. Some higher power.
Do you say
that.
prayers, Madeline?
No. I talk to myself out loud in the car. Not to myself.
What does that sound like?
It's a lot of questions.
Like? What's one today?
I wonder who designs these traffic lights. Like, why have we not?
That's just a matter of traffic engineering. That's not the
That's not
cosmic.
praying. But I do really think, I ask, like, why am I driving towards blah, blah, blah when I should really be going and getting X done? I ask things
And
like
you say
that.
this out loud.
These are the things. Yes, I do say things out loud.
Do you
like,
get
Madeline,
answers?
what are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you doing this?
Do you get answers?
Sometimes, but not like, it's not like someone talks to me. It'll be like I'll suddenly get to standstill traffic where I could be turning to go do the productive thing. I'm like, oh, how convenient, this path towards the right thing I just made for you.
Mm.
Like that will happen.
And who's the I that's making the path?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, good for people who do know. I don't. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah. I'm not pushing. Not pushing. I'm
It's
just
not
asking.
Jesus, I'll tell you that.
I'm just asking, Madeline. I'm not pushing.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't feel pushed.
You are so good to come in and do this.
It was fun.
Well, good.
This is fun. You're a fun guy. You're easy to talk to.
Did I listen?
I think you heard me. I think listening and hearing are different things. I think you really heard.
Yeah. God bless you, Madeline. Thank you.
You too, Stuart. You're a fantastic man, and thanks for doing this for a woman everywhere.
Madeline said her one regret is that she didn't have the challah bread. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's my regret, too, Liz. Liz, the producer. I don't know if Liz would have eaten the challah bread. That would have just been more for me.
Man Listening is a production of Unmediated LLC in cooperation with the Queen City Podcast Network and Balto Creative Media. Allison Andrews at Andrews Creative and Rachel Clapp-Miller are developmental producers. Sally Higgins at Higgins & Owens tries to keep us legal. Our music is A Day at the Park by the group Pictures of the Floating World. Your announcer is Catherine Smith. That's me. Please go to our Patreon page. You'll find us at patreon.com. Look for Man Listening, one word, no spaces. We hope you'll join us by becoming a member. A small investment can raise up the conversation. If you want exclusive member merch, like a t-shirt, we can arrange that too.
We'll have another episode next week. And remember, we're sponsored. Lots of love for Voice Locket. Just like you'd spell it, voicelockettogether.com. Check it out. Watch the video. Let me know what you think. See you next week.
Don't forget to support us at Patreon. We believe one voice can change the conversation. Thanks.